7-Day Shadow Work Challenge. Face your hidden self and transform your life. The parts of you you've been avoiding. There's a version of you that exists in the shadows. The parts of your personality that you've pushed away, denied, or tried to forget. Maybe it's your anger that you've learned to suppress because good people don't get angry. Perhaps it's your vulnerability that you've hidden behind walls of strength. Or maybe it's your creativity that you've buried under layers of practicality and responsibility. Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist, called this hidden aspect of ourselves the shadow. And he believed that until we face these rejected parts of ourselves, we can never truly be whole. We can never fully step into our power, our authenticity, or our deepest potential. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time you felt completely, unapologetically yourself? Not the version of you that you think others want to see, but the real, unfiltered you? If you're struggling to answer that question, you're not alone. Most of us have spent years, even decades, crafting personas that we believe are more acceptable, more lovable, more successful. But here's what Jung discovered through his groundbreaking work. The very parts of ourselves that we reject hold the keys to our greatest growth, our deepest healing, and our most authentic expression. The shadow isn't something to be feared, it's something to be integrated. Today, I'm going to take you through a powerful 7-day shadow work challenge that will help you meet, understand, and ultimately embrace the hidden aspects of yourself. This isn't about becoming someone new, it's about becoming whole. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself that you've left behind and discovering the incredible power that comes from self-acceptance. What is shadow work? Understanding Carl Jung's revolutionary concept. Before we dive into the challenge, let's understand what we are actually working with. Carl Jung defined the shadow as the part of the unconscious mind consisting of the repressed, denied, or undeveloped aspects of the personality. It's everything about ourselves that we've decided is unacceptable, dangerous, or shameful. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is profound when you really think about it. The things we don't acknowledge about ourselves don't just disappear. They continue to influence our choices, our relationships, and our life path from the shadows. Your shadow was formed through a lifetime of experiences. As children, we learned what behaviors, emotions, and aspects of ourselves were rewarded and which were punished or rejected. Maybe you learned that expressing sadness made others uncomfortable, so you pushed that emotion into the shadow. Perhaps you discovered that being too ambitious was seen as selfish, so you dimmed your drive and relegated it to the unconscious. The shadow shows up in our lives in predictable ways. We might find ourselves inexplicably triggered by certain people, often because they're expressing qualities that we've disowned in ourselves. We might have recurring patterns in relationships or career situations that seem to follow us no matter how hard we try to change. These are our shadows at work. But here's the beautiful thing about shadow work. When we bring these hidden aspects into conscious awareness, we reclaim incredible amounts of energy and authenticity. We stop projecting our disowned qualities onto others. We stop being triggered by things that aren't actually about us. We start making conscious choices instead of unconscious reactions. Jung believed that the goal of human psychological development was individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating all aspects of the psyche, including the shadow. This isn't about becoming perfect, it's about becoming complete. Day 1 to 2. Recognition and Acknowledgement. The first 2 days of our challenge focus on recognition. You can't integrate what you don't acknowledge, so we begin by simply noticing what's been hiding in the shadows. Day 1 is about trigger awareness. Throughout the day, I want you to notice when you feel triggered, annoyed, or judgmental towards someone else. Instead of dismissing these feelings, get curious about them. Ask yourself, what quality in this person am I reacting to so strongly? Here's a powerful truth. We can only be triggered by qualities that exist within us. If someone's arrogance bothers you, there's likely a part of you that you've learned to suppress your own confidence or self-assertion. If someone's emotional expression makes you uncomfortable, you might have learned to suppress your own emotional range. Write these observations down without judgment. You're not trying to fix anything yet. You're just noticing. Jung emphasized that awareness is the first step toward transformation. Day 2 expands this awareness to your internal dialogue. Pay attention to your self-talk, especially the critical voice. What does it say about you? What does it tell you is unacceptable about your thoughts, feelings, or desires? Ask yourself, what parts of myself do I consistently reject or judge? Maybe it's your need for attention, your competitive nature, your sensitivity, or your desire for control. Write these down too. Also notice what you admire intensely in others. Often, the qualities we most admire in other people are actually aspects of our own shadow, positive qualities we've disowned or never allowed ourselves to express. Remember, this isn't about becoming someone different. It's about recognizing who you already are beneath the layers of conditioning and social expectations. Day 3 to 4. Understanding origins and patterns. Now that you've begun to recognize your shadow material, days 3 and 4 are about understanding where these patterns came from and how they've shaped your life. Day 3 focuses on childhood origins. Take the shadow qualities you've identified and ask yourself, when did I first learn that this part of me was unacceptable? Go back to your earliest memories. Was it a specific incident, or was it a gradual process of learning what was rewarded and what was punished? Maybe you learned that anger was dangerous after seeing a parent's explosive rage. Perhaps you learned that being too happy or excited was annoying to others. Maybe you internalized the message that your needs didn't matter, so you pushed your desires into the shadow. Jung understood that much of our shadow formation happens in childhood when we are most vulnerable to external messages about who we should be. Understanding these origins isn't about blaming anyone. It's about recognizing that your shadow responses made perfect sense given your circumstances. Day 4 is about pattern recognition. Look at your life and identify recurring themes. Where do you see these shadow qualities showing up? How have they influenced your relationships, your career choices, your self-expression? For example, if you've disowned your assertiveness, you might notice a pattern of being overlooked, taken advantage of, or feeling resentful in relationships. If you've suppressed your creativity, you might find yourself feeling empty or envious of others' creative expression. This day is also about recognizing the cost of keeping these aspects in the shadow. What opportunities have you missed? What relationships have been impacted? What parts of your authentic self have you sacrificed? Jung believed that psychological symptoms and life problems often stem from the energy we spend keeping parts of ourselves hidden. As you recognize these patterns, you're beginning to reclaim that energy. Day 5 to 6. Integration and dialogue. Days 5 and 6 are where the real transformation begins. Now that you understand your shadow, it's time to start integrating these aspects consciously. Day 5 is about dialogue with your shadow. This might sound strange, but Jung often encouraged people to have conversations with different aspects of their psyche. Choose one of the shadow qualities you've identified and imagine it as a separate part of yourself. Write a dialogue between your conscious self and this shadow aspect. Ask it questions. What do you need from me? What are you trying to protect me from? How can I honor you in a healthy way? You might discover that your suppressed anger is actually trying to protect your boundaries. Your hidden vulnerability might be longing for deeper connection. Your disowned ambition might be pushing you toward your true purpose. This isn't about unleashing your shadow unconsciously. It's about finding conscious, healthy ways to express these aspects of yourself. Day 6 focuses on small integration experiments. Based on your dialogue from Day 5, choose one small way to consciously express a shadow quality. If you've suppressed your assertiveness, practice saying no to one small request. If you've hidden your playfulness, allow yourself to be silly for a few minutes. The key is to start small and conscious. You're not trying to become a different person overnight. You're learning to include parts of yourself that have been excluded. Notice how it feels to express these qualities consciously. Often, people are surprised to discover that their shadow qualities, when expressed consciously, are actually quite positive and necessary. Day 7. Wholeness and moving forward. Day 7 is about integration and commitment to ongoing shadow work. Jung viewed individuation as a lifelong process, not a destination. Today is about setting the foundation for continued growth. Begin by reflecting on what you've learned about yourself over the past 6 days. How has your self-understanding deepened? What patterns have you recognized? What aspects of yourself are you beginning to reclaim? Write a letter to yourself acknowledging the courage it took to face your shadow. Shadow work isn't easy. It requires tremendous honesty and vulnerability. Recognize that by doing this work, you're choosing growth over comfort, authenticity over acceptance. Today is also about making a commitment to ongoing shadow work. This challenge is just the beginning. Jung emphasized that becoming whole is a lifelong journey, not a weekend workshop. Set an intention for how you want to continue this work. Maybe it's through regular journaling, therapy, or simply maintaining the awareness you've developed. The important thing is that you don't let this work become another item on your self-improvement checklist that you complete and forget. Finally, reflect on what wholeness means to you. Jung believed that individuation, the process of becoming whole, was the ultimate goal of human psychological development. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming complete. As you integrate your shadow, you'll find that you have more energy, more authenticity, and more compassion, both for yourself and others. You'll stop being triggered by others' behaviors because you'll have acknowledged those same qualities in yourself. You'll make choices from consciousness rather than unconscious reaction. Your shadow work journey begins now. Here's what I want you to understand. This 7-day challenge is not about fixing yourself. You were never broken. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself that you've been taught to hide, deny, or suppress. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are." But most of us have spent so much time being who we think we should be that we've forgotten who we actually are. Your shadow contains not just your supposed weaknesses, but also your hidden strengths, your untapped creativity, your authentic power. When you learn to embrace all parts of yourself, you stop living in reaction to your unconscious patterns and start living from conscious choice. This work isn't comfortable. It's not supposed to be. Growth never is. But it's necessary if you want to live authentically, love deeply, and create meaningfully. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate your shadow, it's to integrate it. Jung emphasized that the shadow, when conscious, becomes a source of strength rather than unconscious sabotage. As you continue this journey, be patient with yourself. Be curious rather than judgmental. And remember that every person you meet is fighting their own battle with their shadow. When you do this work, you not only heal yourself, you contribute to the healing of our collective unconscious. Call to action and final reflection. I want to leave you with this question. What would be possible in your life if you fully accepted and integrated all parts of yourself? What would you create? How would you love? What would you risk? If this challenge has resonated with you, I encourage you to share your experience in the comments below. What shadow aspect are you ready to face? What pattern are you ready to break? Your sharing might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Remember, the work you do on yourself ripples out into the world. Every time you choose consciousness over unconsciousness, authenticity over performance, integration over rejection, you're contributing to collective healing. Jung believed that the ultimate goal of human existence was to become who we truly are, not who we think we should be, but who we actually are beneath all the conditioning and expectations. Your shadow work journey doesn't end here. It's just beginning. And that's exactly as it should be. Take a deep breath. Thank yourself for having the courage to look into the shadows. And remember, you are not broken. You have never been broken. You are simply becoming whole.